Oval racing is back for the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series presented by Cooper Tires. And boy, is it at one of the best short tracks you can find around on the iRacing service. The 7/8 of a mile short track has found to play host to an incredible race tonight as we get set to kick off the second half of the season for the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series. Hello, one and all, and welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Noah Rempel. I've got Lorenzo Bonder in the commentary box beside me with Hugo Louise down behind the cameras for tonight's race here on July the 30th. It is bound to be an exciting 70 laps of action ahead of us. A fully stacked 22-car grid, Lorenzo, getting ready to rumble away for one of those later oval races we got on the season.
Yeah, we have this oval, and then we go to Worldwide Raceway in the second to last round of the season, which is going to be really interesting how they're going to tackle it. But I was 7/8 length of an oval, of a mile oval. It's going to be interesting how these cars go, because I was looking at the laps and I was talking with Stefan Schlacka, who is actually with us here in the broadcast booth. Really fast laps out of these cars, nearly 2 seconds slower around than the IR18 Indy cars.
They really are. We're talking lap times of 22.370 at the moment for the top of the timing board set by Simon Fell. So it's bound to be an exciting night out there. And in fact, like you mentioned, Stefan Schlacka is down there and on track at the moment, trying to get a qualifying lap in. Currently 17th with both laps complete with the 22.224. So you do have yourselves one of those good old race ball commentators down there on the course tonight. Wishing Stefan the best of luck, as with everybody else we got on the grid. So far, 18 of the 22 drivers have set times. We are still waiting to see if Greg Seitz, Zach Kruger, Timothy McFarlane, and Craig Tillotson will set times. Seitz is currently on the track among those four drivers. He is among the last of the cars to go ahead and set their times as well, with just under a minute and a half remaining, starting this first flying lap now.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that you don't, unlike the road courses, that it can be really long and you might have to launch yourself into the track immediately for you to get that time, or the weather conditions might not favor you into the latter portions of the lap. Here, you can take your time, go to the final minute, because the lap here is so quick. The outlap, the in-lap, the outlap and the two fast laps nearly take a whole minute, so you can get out with pretty much some comfortable margin and just do your laps and see where you're going to line up in the grid, because right now everybody's close to one another as we're seeing the weather conditions.
Track temperature is very, very cool right now. Only 23 degrees Celsius compared to the 22 in the air. Wind, it's a fairly steady breeze, about 10 kilometers an hour. That's 6 miles an hour, just blowing off to the south. So it's bound to be an interesting race tonight. There is a bit of humidity in the air, 73% humidity up there at the moment, which should mean this could be an interesting race. And we're expecting the air temperatures to cool as well, as we are going to be racing into the evening under the lights here from the Iowa Speedway. Just a few seconds remaining in qualifying here. Seitz does finish both his times. He'll put himself on the front row, just 1/100th of a second behind Simon Fell. So it's bound to be an exciting race here tonight. Simon Fell starts on pole position with Greg Seitz down in second. Jason Owens is in third place with Andrew Berry in fourth. Frank Newen rounding out fifth place with Connor Melia in sixth. Jason Perdue is in seventh place with John Cosgrove in eighth. Anthony Cott is in ninth with Jimmy Oyanen rounding out the top 10 here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, in 11th place, we got Eric Hunter alongside Michael Long in 12th. We're running out grid row 6. Evan Adams and Shane Holstein who round out grid row 7. Ryan Murphy, Matthew Hall round P15 and 16. Simon Grills, Stefan Schlacka, our race car commentator, goes P8 after a fumble on qualifying. And to round out the 19-car grid, those who did laps is Jason Steinhurst. The ones who haven't done last year, Nolan, McFarland, Zach Kruger, and Craig Tillotson.
So the field getting stacked up behind the pace car, ready to rumble in just a few moments. 2 pace laps on the night. Of course, that's what happens when you go racing at the short tracks. Any track under 1 mile length gets themselves 2 pace laps to work with. It is no different for the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series. This is also not the last time we're going to be going to oval racing today. There is one final oval race coming on up for us at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's the second to last race on the season for a 50-lap race around the 1.3 mile oval there. That's an oval that I think has some split opinions among them. Whether we'll get a field as big as the one we have here remains to be seen. What I'm most intrigued about our upcoming schedule here, Lorenzo, excuse me, is the Chicago Street Circuit. When I saw Chicago the schedule, I genuinely thought it would be the Chicagoland Speedway, not the brand new Street Circuit. I have yet to see that race in action myself. I myself didn't really tune into the Pro Invitational Series when they went there, so I am very excited to see what the brand new Street Circuit will hold for these open wheel cars.
It's gonna be interesting to see that bumpy track and how these cars will handle the bumpiness out of Chicago. I know Porsche Cup and NASCAR kind of handle differently, and they kind of handle quite nicely how the track actually handles. And so was over there as well, and it was quite okay. But cars like this that have hard suspension is going to be a tricky one for them to tackle. I think as many laps as we're probably thinking. I think it's going to be right around 21, 22 laps around the track. So it's going to be a tough one. But I think Iowa is going to be a little bit more trickier as than the Chicago track as we're about to go green.
One lap to go. Before we do go green, I would like to actually check in with Stefan once if he happens to be available for us. Stefan, 7 laps ahead of you. What do you think is going to be the plan? Starting further down the order. Hopefully you'll be able to find yourself up at the sharp end of this thing by the end.
Yeah, hello guys. Most definitely I'm looking forward to this one. From the little practice that I had, because I kind of forgot about this race, I've got to be honest, I know that I can be there at the point end of this field, just has to be going a little bit my way. 70 laps ahead, really looking forward to this one. Maybe a good drive through the field should be on the table here.
Coming down the back straightaway for the final time. Thank you, Stefan. We'll hopefully be able to check in with you a little bit more as this race goes along. So far, though, through 3 and 4, we get set to go racing for round number 7 of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series, presented by Cooper Tires. In the hands of Simon Fell. As the pace car pulls down the pit road, will it go for the early launch or will it hold up the field? That's going to be the big ticket question. It's going to be the early jump for Simon Fell. Green flag drops. We are underway from Iowa. Greg Seitz not wanting to waste time as Fell leads the opening lap. Seitz already tried to look for the race lead at the entry to turn number 3. It was no dice for Seitz. Could not get a hammer down as much as would have liked, but now side by side for the race lead down the back straightaway. And one car already down to pit road, Lorenzo. That's Craig Tillotson, who has pulled it off very early on. So the 21 car having some struggles, but they are jockeying for position big time down the front stretch.
Yeah, they're going to try to jog it out as Jason Owens does the best lap of the race so far. And really quickly, I was talking over here, but how they're going to handle the lines is going to be really interesting, because in the Indy cars, you kind of have one line going to turn number 1, which is go as deep as you can into the inside line, and then just try to handle your cars the best you can to try to carry out that speed towards the outside line. The outside line with the Indy cars is not really good, but the second part, turn number 3 and 4, you can kind of use the middle line or the bottom line, just carry as much speed as you can on the top line. Here, I think with the Indy Pro, you can work a little bit differently how you can handle yourself with the aero draft and the aero wash and everything. So it's going to be a really interesting chess race as we go about lap number 5 out of 70.
Pole sitter Simon Fell down to 3rd position now and trying to do battle with Jason Owens to see if he can hang on to 3rd. Owens clears himself up and nearly puts Fell into the outside wall. Manages to save it. Here comes Frank Newen. 3 wide now for 3rd place down to the turn number 1. Can Newen hold the bottom side? I think this might just play out to Jason Owens through the middle groove if he can manage it. He got Craig Tillotson, a slow lap car just up the road, trying to just keep out of the way of the main leaders here. Owens does manage to clear Newen. And it looks as though your pole sitter Simon Fell is going to be dropping even further down the order. Had to lift off before hitting the wall, and he is dropping back in a big way. Got a bit of a tech slap going as well for 3 and 4.
And can we get a replay once we had the things come down on Simon's save, because that was extraordinary. Because I could totally see a yellow flag coming down on Simon. Lost control out of 3 going into 4. car decided to step out on its rear. I think caught a small bump as Andrew Berry now does the last lap. They're just keeping it on track and avoids by a fraction Connor Malia as still have battles all around the track going to turn number 3.
Watching the battle for 8th place in the moment between Jason Perdue, Eric Hunter, with Stefan Schlacker himself trying to throw his hat into the mix. Already Schlacker up into the top 10 after starting in 18th place. He's going to try to put himself up, but so far, you still got yourself Eric Hunter still holding that outside line.
Yeah, Stefan holding that inside line and going to try to get a good run on the outside. He has a car right in front of him. He has a little bit of a draft range, which is Jason Perdue. Now gets blocked off of the enters of turn number 1 and 2. Might get shuffled back to 1 position as Eric Hunter will retain the position for now.
So that number 5 machine still looking very strong on the inside line. I mean, Eric Hunter just has not been able to really get the runner on the outside line, but they're both being held up by Jason Perdue at the moment. Oh, the 13 car runs a bit wide, got scared up by Stefan Schlacker. Oh, gets put up into the wall and spinning around as the 13 car caution flag flies. And I hate to say it, but that is a bit of an ugly situation when you take a look at it. But as much as he might like to say Stefan came up on him, he had the space. Perdue just got a bit scared is all that happened there, and unfortunately just didn't leave any room for Eric Hunter up on top.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate. Both guys were racing real hard in the backstretch, but it's one of those things. Iowa backstretch is so small in comparison to some of the other speedways that we go to that you have to make split-second decisions on trying to position your car going to the entrance of the curve. And Perdue, unfortunately, and the other driver paid the price of getting too close to one another.
Take a look at the replay. This is on board with Hunter. There you see Perdue goes up, and wow, I mean, Hunter just had no time to react. I mean, some might try to argue that Hunter should have backed out. He had no idea that was going to happen. He couldn't have seen Stefan from his own cockpit camera. There was no way that he could react in time to Perdue washed up the track. By the time Perdue straightened out, it was a split-second decision. They were already rubbing wheels. It just wasn't gonna happen, unfortunately. It's an unfortunate situation, but that's just what happens when you race these cars. I mean, these things are flying around at 240 plus kilometers an hour, 150 miles an hour. It's incredibly high speeds that you hit here. You need to have lightning quick reflexes to be able to avoid something like that. I think this is the replay here again of what happened to the incident. There you see Perdue getting scared up, and there you go, just gets turned.
Yeah, it's Stefan getting out on the inside line over there. I think scared off Jason on the rejoin into what would be the high line of all lines within Iowa. You kind of have like you can kind of have 3-4 lines depending on situations in Iowa on the back stretch, but you're gonna have to funnel it down to 3, maybe 2 lines going into 3 and 4 and then 1 and 2. And I think got a little bit of confusion out of that. Unfortunately for Perdue and Hunter to get caught in the process.
So it's Greg Sykes for Rust Racing up in front, and you got the Action Sim Sport machine of Andrew Berry sitting just behind him in the second place in that number 2 car. An exciting first, 11 laps or so before this caution flag flew. And don't forget, single file restarts, not the traditional double file oval restarts we're used to seeing when it comes to oval racing. That is the nature of IndyCar zone. I'm pretty sure as well, no lucky dogs either, meaning you got Craig Tillotson, who is not going to be able to get his lap back. He is still going to be trapped 3 laps down in the center of the field.
Yeah, he's going to be all the way back, and he's going to have to resort to some different strategies and try to come back into the field. But let's see what the number 21 car will do. As so far, we're now going to look what happened to Simon Fell on the lap number 7. Look at the replay. The car just decided to step out of the way, and what a save! The car just bobbles it out on the second catch, but. Lost a few positions. Simon Fell in comparison to where he started in this race was a lead. He shuffled back to P7 at that moment, but now all the way down to P10, the former pace lap leader of this race.
What a save there for Simon Fell. I mean, that car, he had to turn that wheel 90 degrees to the right just to keep that thing pointed in the right direction. We are still under the yellow flags, and I believe the reason why this caution period is taking so long is because it does add an extra lap on whenever you get cars that are a lap down, so we can give them a chance to come down pit road as well. So at the moment, Jason Perdue is out of this race, missing his front right wheel. Craig Tillotson is still out there on track. Eric Hunter just pulled it off as well, and I believe he is going to be retiring from here. He had come out of pit road and attempted to continue. It ends up that is not going to be happening for Eric Hunter, as he is now out of the car, and we can expect to see him taking it behind the wall here in just a few moments. There is Perdue's empty and very wounded number 13 machine, and just from looking at the right side alone, you can tell exactly what the problem is as to why they can't exactly put that car on track anymore. Very hard to race an Indy Pro 2000 with only 3 wheels.
Yeah, not every single individual can be Lewis Hamilton or Adam Blocker like we saw at Lionheart, right? So the cars kind of handled differently in comparison to the Indy cars. As we're seeing P5 over here, I think that is Connor Malia. Connor, with a small incline in this race, got the position out of Simon Fell due to his mistake, Simon's mistake. And so far, P5 for the number 10 car, where we've seen him actually have a good season so far. Just going to capitalize in some races.
About to get set for restart number 1, and green flag number 2 on the night. Sides holds the outside line, as you can be expecting, with a single file restart to make sure nobody can get past him, to put him down another position right at the gate. He launches early. We are back underway from Iowa. Already a couple cars stepping out further towards the tail end of the field. Stefan Schlacke is wanting to make up speed early down the inside of John Cosgrove and picks up 7th.
Yeah, picks up 7 on hunt of 6th place. That is Yimi Yonen. I'm gonna butcher some names. Now it's my turn to butcher names, and it gets really close.
Craig Tillotson slammed the wall off of turn number 4, pushed a bit too wide, and he slid all the way down. He is a car that is a lap down, a couple laps down in the middle of the field, so that could have been a close one there. Luckily, there's nobody around him to really make that any worse than it ended up being. So we watch Evan Adams and Stefan Schlacke starting to do battle. You've got John Cosgrove just up in front, who has got back past. One car sliding behind. Craig Tillotson spins out again, and this time, I don't think he was lucky enough. No, he was not. Ryan Murphy got into him big.
Got him real big. I think lost the front wheel, one of the front wheels right there, and Tillotson just cannot keep that car on track, and that was really unfortunate for him to actually spin out on his own. And look at the replay. Couldn't avoid anybody.
You saw Shane Holstein fly by, and while Shane missed the car, did actually run into the wall a little bit. So 3 cars total collected, and a bigger incident, though, definitely for Ryan Murphy is going to be effectively out of this race. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Craig Tillotson pulling it off the track after that one in just a few moments. I mean, he's already been caught up in issues earlier in the race, and, well, now you're the cause of caution number 2. It never necessarily feels nice. Honestly, the best thing he could probably do right now would be to just kind of keep it out of the leader's way and just run your race. I mean, get yourself in a couple more corners, get your safety routine back up, see if you can recover a little bit. But I mean, you take a look at where he is on course at the moment. I mean, 3 laps down in a series with no lucky dogs, it's impossible to recover from that on an oval like this.
Yeah, especially with damages like that, as we see now Stefan going to the pit lane. Stefan was actually the guy that was the second one in the scene after the first spin of Tillotson, and actually got some damage on the front end of his car. But yeah, that's the thing you really want to do on paper is just like you said, just stay on your line. Don't get in the way of the leaders or whoever going to lap you too much. But in Iowa, I think it's easier said than done than anything else. So let's see what is he going to do if he keeps on track, and how safe he's going to be.
So the damage from Stefan actually did not come from the initial incident. It came from when Craig Tillotson actually hit the wall of a turn 4 the lap prior. But it was Jimmy Oyana that had checked up, and Stefan, unfortunately, completely unsighted, couldn't check up fast enough, and that's how John Cosgrove actually got back past him as well.
Yeah, with that, Stefan actually going to get shuffled back all the way down to P16. So a little bit of a reset for our race spot commentator. But looking like it looks like he has the pace to make up some moves and still a whole lot of race to go. And those yellow flags, I think a little bit of a blessing in disguise if he wants to go for a restart, because his restart was actually really good.
Well, you're seeing that he's fast. I mean, this guy started in 18th place and still only down to 16th after having to come down to pit road to fix damage. That's not bad by any stretch of the means for sure. So I definitely feel like Stefan still has a very good chance of getting a top 10 finish by the end of this race. Still under this second yellow flag now. Unfortunately, the run not lasting nearly as long as the first one we had. Hopefully we will get one of those longer green flag runs in.
Yeah, let's hope we can get a really good run, as we're about a one lap after this one to go green, and I think everybody's going to line up within the grid. It's going to be an interesting one, this restart, because no individuals except for Stefan and I think Simon Grills and Shane Holstein came into the pit lane, do the repairs, and put up some tires and fuel to reset the strategy. So tires over here are actually really important for you to actually get a good run over here, Nolan. It's going to be a very interesting restart from now on.
Lights still on. I believe we're 2 to green this time by. So this, we'll see this restart here in a couple of laps here, and these caution periods does tend to be when we can have this little bit of time to, kind of kill the time and, fill some space. So, you know what? Let's dial up Stefan one more time if we can. Stefan, you have said your goal is to go not for a top 10, but for a top 5.
Yeah, I most definitely do have the speed for a top 5. I think I've shown that quite clearly in that first run until I had that run in with, I think it was Jimmy, I think. So, yeah. No, most definitely, car feels good. I have made some very nice moves as well, cutting down, switching from the top lane to the bottom lane and surprising them like that. So, yeah, most definitely will have a good speed now. Also have 20 laps fresher tires than the guys up in front of me, so that will also play quite nicely into my hand as well. And to add, I kind of want to say sorry for that first caution to the 2 guys on my outside. I didn't realize we were 3 wide going out of turn 2. So I went a little bit more up than I probably should have and scared the guy in the middle into that wreck, sadly.
Well, you heard it there. An apology from Stefan, as well as a goal for a top 5 finish. And I'm going to be honest, I think he's got speed to do as well. We just need to have that longer green flag run so he can actually have the ability to work his way up there. Car to 3 and 4 getting set for restart number 2. Once again, the entire grouping hugs that outside wall. Nobody wanted to give any room for somebody to poke a brave nose in. Sights has been leaving early the last couple of restarts. Holds them a touch longer, and that checks the field a little bit at the front end, but still, they launch good, and look at this. Frank Nealon trying the outside. He gets put into the wall as he tries to work his way around Jason Owens.
Yeah, a little bit of a bold move from Nguyen, actually going to turn number 1, trying to find that gap, and just couldn't capitalize. Brock, Connor Malia, and
and they're wrecking big
Maxie
time.
Hall got involved with Stefan.
And that's Stefan as well. Unfortunately, that will be race over for the race spot commentator. A top 5 finish will unfortunately not be the possibility today. No caution for the wreck on the back straightaway. Yet, at least, and in fact, there will be no caution, period, as the field thunders back through. That is such a big shame, but the race continues off of turn 4.
Yeah, race continues out of turn 4. Getting a crash in the backstretch actually doesn't do you any good. It doesn't bring out the yellow flag, as Nguyen's trying to run off away from Malia and Oyanen, because they're both trying to get closer to him, but no cigar so far for both drivers, as now get shuffled back and see a battle in the middle of the field.
It's John Cosgrove and Evan Adams battling for 7th and 8th that are trying to work their way through. Evan Adams having to check up a bit. Got a bit too close to the outside wall. Got a bit too scared offline. John Cosgrove taking a wider R3 This is the replay on the incident. Oh, Hill just clipped the wall and bounced back down to the Stefan. And that is a hard shot for both cars. Completely totaling both machines effectively. So it's a real shame. But again, it's one of those very, very easy mistakes to make. You can often get lulled almost into a false sense of security, Lorenzo, by just how fast you take these corners, and that means you're completely caught unawares by the time that outside wall comes flying up on you.
Yeah, plus there's two other factors that I think he didn't count it as well as we see Andrew Berry do the fast lap with a 21.308 is that fact that first and foremost, you don't have new tires. New tires can basically glow flat out from carry yourself from turn 1 to the backstretch without many issues. So you have about, I think, 15, 16, 17 laps in terms of tires. That brushes up a little bit and kills it front right, so you're not going to get that optimal grip as you go into turn number 1 and 2. As you guys see the damage out of Stefan's car, I think doesn't look repairable, but the second thing is the aero wash was just too big for Matthew to consider.
That's a very wounded race car. Both right side tires completely missing. You had seen they had just finished getting the rear wing back on the car as well. Simon Fell is starting to work his way back up to the order as well. Just got past Evan Adams. And the racing continues, especially further up towards the front in the top 3. This is the number 1 machine of Jason Owens trying to run down Andrew Berry, who in turn is also on the tail end of Greg Seitz up in front.
Inside looks like he found his strides in the ovals, right? 1 Pocono last time by, and leading this race so far, and not being overly pressured by Berry and Owens at this point of the race. I think they're just looking into maybe some fuel saving stress because they're gonna have to do maybe some sort of pit stop down to the end portion of their stint. But so far, everybody just keeping it safe within that top 3, and they're running away.
Berry's pushing hard at the moment, under a 10.5 away from Greg Seitz. Andy Latt now is going to start making those looks. He's already kind of wiggling around the track, trying to gauge where he wants to try to go for this lead. Enters a bit too shallow, though, and that kind of neutralizes the run he could have gotten on Greg Seitz. There was one car you saw stopped on the bottom of the racetrack, and they have since pulled it off and taken it back to pit lane. That was Simon Grills, I believe, that had attempted to come out of pit road with no further luck.
And Simon coming into the pit lane right now, and looks like he is out of this race.
That 11 machine still running very strong up in front. I mean, Greg Seitz has certainly been the man to beat for several weeks now, and he's been showing exactly why he deserves to be running out there in front, fighting for these wins, fighting for these podium positions. Andrew Berry, though, is really giving him a run for his money. He has not been able to get close enough to go for the pass, but he has not been more than a quarter of a second once he could get within that. He is absolutely on it. It might only be a matter of time for Andrew Berry to try to find a way through.
Yeah, but if there's another thing we have to consider over here, Nolan, that they are kind of like teammates. I think both of them from Rust Racing. The only thing that differs is the color of their cars. Because Seitz runs the orange color and Berry runs the green color, but everybody just doing a really good race so far. I think Berry's kind of marking his teammate right now, not trying to go for any offensive moves at this part of the race, because I think if he does, I think that would open up a door for Owens to come in and try to do an overtake on both of them and take that P1 and P2 from both drivers.
You say they're teammates, but don't forget what happened last week at Hockenheim between the Rust Racing crew. It got a bit feisty, shall we say. So I don't think teammates.
No, that wasn't them. That wasn't them. That wasn't them.
Oh, was it not them? Was it?
No, it was
team?
not them. That was actually the Inertia team that actually got really close to one another.
Yes, it goes to show that sometimes your teammate can also be a rival, so to speak. And as has been said many times before, your greatest rival is your own teammate, because that's the guy you want to try to beat. They're the car you're matched with, in a sense. So you need to prove that you're the best on your team. That could very well be a case right now. I mean, Greg Seitz has clearly been the better driver so far throughout the entirety of the season. He has been up there very consistently, running in this top grouping. Andrew Berry, though, he can always be hunting for that extra win. I mean, it's another win to add to that win column on your iRacing career. And in iRacing, it's one of those stats you can never have too many of them.
Yeah, you can never have enough wins to try to brush up. I say, if you have enough wins, that's good. But what's one more to brush up your ego, right? So if Andrew Berry gets that opening and wants to go for it, hey, go right ahead. And there's still plenty of racing left. You've got about 58 laps left Sorry, no, so 48 laps left into this race. No, not even so. 38. I'm doing my mathematics wrong. Please help me. I'm not a mathematician. I don't got my degree.
27.
27, even worse. The commentator doesn't know about mathematics.
Oh, don't worry. I'm looking at a timer screen. I'm not trying to figure that out in my head. I'm just as bad as you are.
You know what's the worst thing? I'm actually graduated in computer science, so that makes it even worse.
Yes. On the right side of the screen, a fierce battle for positions at the tail end of the field entirely. That's Shane Holstein, Anthony Catt, and Jason Steinhurst all going 3 wide down towards turn number 3 with Zach Kruger just up in front of this grouping. This is about 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th in the running order. The last cars on the lead lap, and they're about a straightaway's length away from your race leaders.
It's radical was something that Stefan over here said, which is kind of true as well. But yeah, all drivers actually getting really feisty one another. And wondering who was on that bottom line, because he was running kind of aggressively that bottom line going to turn number 3 and 4. I think that was Anthony Catt that was going to that bottom line, just couldn't capitalize anything whatsoever. But let's see what these guys are doing, because they're all fighting for a near top 10 spot, and everybody's still fighting pretty much cleanly after one another, even though going 3 wide on the backstretch, especially going to the bottom line on turn number 3, is not the best thing you really want to do with those tires at this point of the race.
Matthew Hall exits pit road. You see him just on the bottom of the screen there, just a flash of black at the very bottom. So Hall puts them back on track, just log a couple of more laps. Shane Holstein and Jason Steinhurst still running nice goals. Caution flag waves. And not sure where this one actually came from. I'm at a loss for words. I think it might have been Matthew. It was Matthew Hall. Spun immediately out of pit road.
Yeah, as he rejoined the track and went into turn number 3, and the car just decided, no grip for you, and he immediately spins in the high side, in the high line of turn number 3, thus issuing the yellow flag.
That's one of the more embarrassing mistakes you make as a racing driver. It's not very common that you see a driver come out of pit road, not even for a tire change, and then immediately spin out on exit. You wonder if there was some undercar damage, maybe to the suspension, that had an effect to that, because remember, he wasn't that very huge impact with Stefan Schlacke earlier in the race to bring out, well, not even bring out the caution flag, because it didn't bring out the caution flag whatsoever. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does make you wonder, you know, trying to bring the car out. The problem is this Indy Pro car is so twitchy, especially in the first few laps. We know that from the roadside that it's not an easy car for you to handle. But as soon as you went out, the car just giving out no grip. You have to be very easy with the first few laps, and gotta push as hard as you did. Just couldn't capitalize on it. I think we might see kind of a busy pit lane at the standby. I don't know if they can go for 70 laps at this current running of the race, but if we do see a busy pit lap, we might be seeing that for tires.
So on the subject of that, Lorenzo, the pit road opened the last lap by. There was only one car that came down pit road. Make that 2. You have Shane Holstein, who came down, and Jimmy Oyana. Those are the only 2 cars to pit, and everybody else is staying out. I think that tells me that they can make it to the end. They're choosing not to because they don't want to sacrifice track position, recognizing that the dirty air is probably going to be too great for them to have to work through to push their way back to the front, even on fresh rubber.
Yeah, but we've seen in Indy. Here's the thing. I'm talking about Indy in the IR18 experience. I know from the IR point of view, if you get better tires, you're eventually going to get better grip and can get better run. But it's gonna be interesting for like guy Shane to see if he can climb up a few spots, because if he does, that would prove that the tire strategy actually did work out for him. But if they can actually run so fast over here constantly for 70 laps with the tire going about 115 miles per hour, 230 down the track, well, they kind of proved my point wrong over here.
I believe this is our third caution flag on the night after the end of the longest green flag run we will be getting all race long. We do not have the ability to go for as long a run as it did last time by. It could very well be a mad dash to the finish with under 20 laps. What do you think the odds are, Stefan, that we end up, Lorenzo, excuse me, that we get so much, that we get another caution flag for the end of this race?
Now you got me curious. I really want to bring Stefan into this. I want to hear his opinion because he was on the track.
You're not wrong there. Well, Stefan, I mean, you were at the heart of that latest incident there, and that has sent you down to pit road for the remainder of the race. So what's your take? Do we get one more caution with under 20 to go?
It's quite difficult to tell, if I'm quite honest. The pace up front is really good. It did stretch out quite nicely apart from the first four. Now we had another pack of two, I think, in that last green flag run. So most definitely will be hard to gather another yellow flag, but you never know what the midfield guys will try to do to get to the front. There might always be a little bit of erratic driving. So I think the probability is there. So probably I'd go with like a 70% chance that there is going to be another caution in the dying laps of this race, but I really wouldn't bet on it.
Well, there you heard it, Lorenzo. It's difficult to tell, and he's absolutely not wrong. These cautions can come up in a heartbeat. I mean, we saw that with this latest caution, Matthew Hall. He's fine one moment, and not even a second later, and he's up against the outside wall. Yep. Only one way to tell, and that is to wait and see how the race plays out.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see how it plays out. Last time by, Greg Sykes kind of checked the whole field with a late restart, caught up by everybody by sprint. Let's see. Now, it's early as we have green flag again.
Green flag waves. It's a clean getaway from Greg Seitz once more, leaving Andrew Berry to try to run him down, pulling Jason Owens and company with him. Now the question is, does this field split apart into their own little group? Because it already looks like that started to take place. He got first, kind of single file back to about the 7th position, and already 8th and 9th, going side by side with Timothy McFarland, trying to make up time on Simon Fell. Fell, of course, trying to regain lost time after he started on pole and has had a pretty dismal day, if I'm being frank. Michael Long also going to go down the inside of McFarland and try to pick up the 9th position on the course. He's going to kind of push McFarland a little bit wide out of the corner and going to maybe make this pass complete in 3 and 4. McFarland pitches down, and Michael Long is held back. Bit of an interesting move there from Timothy McFarland. Up in front, side by side for the race lead. Sides under fire from Andrew Perry.
Yeah, under heavy fire from Andrew Berry and also Jason knows, but Jason actually backed off a little bit. Now both teammates scrapping it out, going to 3 and 4. This is going to be really interesting as we are approaching the tail end of this race. 15 to go. Now 14 to go.
Very downshifted that last time into the corner to try to give some extra acceleration and turn the car in a little bit more through 3 and 4. So Andrew Berry is starting to try to use everything in his hat to try to get a little bit more speed to that number 2 machine and pull out a win from Greg Seitz, who so far has led a vast majority of this race and is also the holder of the fastest lap. Seitz still leads as they cross over to lap 58.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Zach Kruger actually has had big problems here.
Yeah, Zach Kruger getting to some issues right there.
Got shoved up into the wall on the exit of 4, looks like, from the 9 car of Jimmy Oyanen, one of the drivers on fresh tires. The battle, though, for the lead still rages on.
Yeah, it looks like he was on the exit of turn number 4 right there as Oyanen actually got into his line and made a little bit of confusion. Now Jason Owens gets into the fray. What a pass.
Decisive there from Jason Owens. Decided when it was the right time, and he struck when Berry was not expecting it. Now trying to find the inside groove. It's Owens' turn to start downshifting now. Trying to run down Greg Seitz. Coming to 10 to go. This next time by. The SF looks for the 11, cuts him off, and diamonds off the corner beautifully at the Rust Racing number 11.
Yeah, and look how far behind because we also see Frank Nguyen coming into slowly, he's like creeping ever so slightly, but is struggling with the tires a little bit. But we can see 4 cars dueling it out for the finish. But so far, Owens right here might have a little bit of advantage because he was that 3rd car back, didn't waste too much tires in comparison to what Sison and Andrew Berry did. So he might have a little bit of an edge on the other 2 drivers of Rust Racing right here.
Look at that line he just took. He went all the way from the wall down to the yellow line and then back up to the wall. That kind of cut off Andrew Berry. He's losing a bit of time up here to Greg Seitz. The gap is up to 0.3 of a second, which is definitely not what Berry wants to see at the moment, especially with them approaching lap traffic of Stefan Schlecka. This could actually be good, though, for Owens if Seitz ends up getting held up, and he does. Seitz has to take a little bit of a less than optimal line, while Owens gets through just fine on the backstretch. Unfortunately, though, for Owens, it's not enough time to really change his running position.
Yeah, it's not time enough as everybody clears out. Stefan on the front line now, 7 to go, and Seitz might have this one in the bag. It looks like it because Jason Owens' car doesn't have enough maybe grip right here, even though on paper, being the 3rd car right now, doing too much pushing, and able to have that better grip. But Berry is working that car. He's trying to go for it. I don't know if he has enough as we go 6 now.
Not at this rate. The gap is continuing to grow in Greg Seitz's favor. It's up to about 0.4, just about down to 3.5 through the back stretch. But I mean, Greg Seitz just has a better car through the corners. That's where Seitz is making all this time. Jason Owens has to stay out of the throttle longer to avoid pushing up and hitting the wall, where Greg Seitz is getting down the power earlier, not pushing up nearly as much. Seitz has got the better car in these corners, and that is what's costing Owens at the moment.
Berry also looks like he has the better car going through the corners. As you can see on the inside, both cars nearly get close to one another on the exit out of 4, but the position should be Berry's as they go into the line. 4 to go.
For remaining, Jason Owens is still do battle it out with Andrew Berry. This is all but secured a victory for Greg Seitz, as long as Seitz does not make a mistake. Berry still in a fierce fight with Jason Owens, trying to secure the 2nd podium position. 3 to go.
3 to go, and good battle from Owens on the outside line, trying to retain as much speed as he can possibly retain, even downshifting a gear if so necessary to keep the RPM so high to actually match what Berry's doing. As we are about to go 3 to go, and then 2 to go. Next time by. Oh, Berry!
Oh! That's it. That's the race. Andrew Berry spins, saves it with a 360 slide, but that will do it. Greg Seitz, your race winner, under caution.
Wow. What a turn of events for Berry. I cannot believe it actually spun out of turn number 4. It doesn't look like the car was offset, but now you can see at the very tail end of turn number 4, the car just gets loose on the reacceleration, going full power, and Berry just couldn't keep car control and basically seals the deal for Greg Seitz to grab another win here in this season.
Still has to do 1 lap under yellow flags to make it official, but that is going to do it. Greg Seitz is going to be your winner at the end of this night, so long as he just keeps it running for about another 7/8 of a mile out there. It's a bit of a shame. You never want to see a race end like that. I mean, you always want a race to end under green. It's a shame when it has to happen, but that's just how it happens to go sometimes. Andrew Berry looks like he'll be finishing off in 8th place, so not a bad finish for Berry, considering he did just take a full slide as well. And that was just Berry pushing a bit too hard, a bit harder than he probably have needed to. The back was already coming around, even middle of 3 and 4, but he just didn't even notice it until it had come fully around at the exit.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for Berry. Of course, getting top 10, good finish, and but in the full scope of things where he was in this race, I think will be a little bit of a letdown. And it's unfortunate, you know, but that's racing. That's how sometimes you have to deal with this kind of disappointment of sorts. But it was great racing nevertheless at the front. And friend Nguyen was now rewarded with that P3, but solid run out of Nguyen as well over here.
Checker flag waves, and it is Greg Seitz, your official winner, with Owens rounding it out in 3rd and Frank Nguyen picking up podium position. I believe biggest mover on the day is going to be Timothy McFarland, plus 11 positions for McFarland to finish in 9th place after starting in 20th. Not the way we wanted to see the race end, but still, one an exciting race nonetheless. I mean, absolutely stellar. We'll take a look now at your official post-race results here at the end of round number 7 for the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series presented by Cooper Tires. Greg Seitz is your official race winner, with Jason Owens in second place, Frank Newen in third, Connor Malia in fourth place, with John Cosgrove in fifth, Simon Fell sixth, Evan Adams seventh, with Andrew Berry eighth, Timothy McFarland in ninth, and Jimmy Oyanen rounding out the top 10 here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, Michael Long 11th, Anthony Catt actually 12th place, Jason Steinhurst 13th, Shane Holstein in 14th, Zach Kruger with a good drive right here, getting P15 coming from P21, Matthew Hall 16th, our own Stefan Schlacker finishing top in P17, one spot up from where he started. Craig Tillotson is P18, Simon Grills and Ryan Murphy round out top 20, you know what.
21st and 22nd place hold Eric Hunter and Jason Perdue, both not finishing the race to round out a thrilling 70-lap race here at the Iowa Speedway. So we take this time here to kind of look back over the course of the race. It was a certainly exciting race, and definitely more on the up and up things when we take a look at the oval race side of things. Now, of course, next one up, the Chicago, not the Chicago Speedway, but the Chicago Street Circuit on August the 6th. Yet another road course to add to the season. Bound to be a very fun one over there as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real fun one. It's a bumpy track. It has some elevations, some dangerous elevations for these kind of cars, and I can't wait to see how these small cars and will handle that track, because it is bumpy in the suspension. Will be put some work. There will be some stressing race, especially given the fact that that track is not easy to drive.
Bound to be a very exciting race down in Chicago at the Windy City for the Chicago Street Circuit on August the 6th. But for now, for the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Series, that is going to do it for us here at RaceSpotTV. Yabido Lorempel with Lorenzo Bond beside me in the comments area box, and Hugo Luis down behind the cameras for tonight's race. Stick around, you've got more of the Apex Formula 3 Series and the iRacing Formula V Series coming up in just a few minutes' time. But thank you everybody for taking the time to join us here tonight, and we will probably be seeing you all hopefully in just a few minutes.